The machinery of this world is not malfunctioning. It is operating with precise, brutal efficiency, exactly according to its blueprints. If you feel drained, if you are grinding until your vision blurs and your soul splinters, yet you find yourself standing on the exact same economic square you occupied 3 years ago, understand this. You are not the casualty of a glitch. You are the casualty of a law. It is a law so frigid, so unyielding, and so transparently invisible that 99% of the human race lives and decays without ever identifying it. They swallow the fabrication, the great, soothing, sedative fabrication whispered into your subconscious since you were tall enough to reach a desk. The fabrication that promises, if you toil swiftly, you will be compensated. If you are virtuous, you will be secure. If you obey the statutes, the system will cradle you. Observe your surroundings. Study the hollow eyes on the morning commute. Study the brilliant minds drowning in compound interest. Study the citizens who have ticked every box, followed every instruction, and are still one medical emergency away from total collapse. Does this machine appear to incentivize virtue? Does currency appear to pursue perspiration? No, money does not pursue exertion. It does not pursue morality. It does not pursue aptitude. Money pursues position. This is the Machiavellian law of position. It is the singular reason the wealthy accumulate power while you simply accumulate fatigue. The wealthy do not labor with more intensity than you. Often, they labor with significantly less. They do not house a divine spark of intellect that you were denied at birth. They simply inhabit a different coordinate in the geometry of dominance. They are standing upstream, you are standing downstream. And in a cosmos ruled by gravity, no amount of swimming, no amount of prayer, and no amount of hustle can coerce the river to reverse its course. Most of humanity spends a lifetime wrestling with physics. They stand at the base of the waterfall, cupping their trembling hands, hoping to capture enough spray to survive, wondering why the torrent is so violent, why it pulverizes them. They never look up. They never realize that the figure at the apex has simply constructed a dam. That figure is not cupping their hands. They are directing the current. They are not struggling against the water. They have positioned themselves so that the water struggles for them. If you desire to alter your financial reality, you do not require more discipline. You do not need to rise at 4 a.m. You do not need to grind until you fracture. You need to cease movement. You need to study the map. And you need to comprehend that you are fighting a war from the bottom of a ravine against an adversary who holds the high ground. Today we are going to dismantle the mirage of meritocracy. We are going to conduct an autopsy on the religion of hard work. And we are going to view the world through the lens of Niccolo Machiavelli, not as a moralist, but as an architect. I am going to demonstrate why you are immobilized, not to wound you, but because the only method to exit a cell is to perceive the bars. To grasp why you are losing, you must grasp the distinction between creation and capture. This is the fundamental severed connection that keeps the genius impoverished. Society conditions you to be a creator. You are programmed to acquire skills, to generate value, to be essential, to be the superior engineer, the superior author, the superior physician, the superior subordinate. We idolize creation. We deify the value add. But the economic engine does not compensate creation. It compensates capture. Creation is the act of emitting energy. Capture is the act of harnessing it. Visualize a hydroelectric dam. The water in the river is the energy. It is the raw talent, the labor, the kinetic movement of the masses. The water generates the force, but the water receives no paycheck. The dam receives the paycheck. The dam sits motionless. It is static. It is heavy. It does not work in the way the water works. It simply exists. It occupies a strategic choke point where the water has no option but to traverse it. By virtue of its geography, the dam captures the value generated by the river. You are the river. You are the force. You are the entity rushing, churning, eroding yourself against the jagged rocks, generating the electricity that illuminates the metropolis. But because you do not own the choke point, you do not capture the value. You merely pass through the mechanism, leaving your vitality behind. This is why the rich compound their wealth. They are not the water. They are the dam. They dedicate 100% of their focus to acquiring and fortifying strategic positions where value is compelled to flow. Once the position is secured, the accumulation of resources is automatic. It is structural. It demands no new decision-making. It demands no fresh explosion of willpower. This is what Machiavelli implied when he dissected the concept of the state. The state is a framework that outlives the ruler. A monarch may perish, but if the throne is positioned correctly, the kingdom endures. The power resides in the chair, not the man. If you place a mediocre man in a high-leverage position, he will generate fortune. If you place a visionary in a low-leverage position, he will generate wages. Consider the anatomy of a modern corporation. It is a pyramid of value capture. At the bedrock, you find the technician. The technician understands the craft. He writes the script. He repairs the turbine. He executes the incision. He is the creator. His position is execution. His leverage is one-to-one. If he ceases motion, his sustenance ceases. He is the water. Above him sits the manager. The manager cannot write the code as fluently as the technician, but he sits in a position of coordination. He leverages the hours of 10 technicians. His leverage is 1-to-10. Above him sits the executive. The executive may not know how to perform the task at all, but he occupies the position of strategy. He dictates where the river bends. His leverage is 1-to-1,000. And towering above them all is the owner, the shareholder, the capitalist. He does not execute. He does not coordinate. He does not even strategize. He owns. His position is equity. His leverage is infinite. He could lie comatose in a hospital bed and his net worth would expand. Why? Because he owns the scaffolding that captures the labor of the executive, the manager, and the technician. The rich get richer is not a conspiracy theory. It is the mechanical inevitability of this architecture. The output of the thousands at the bottom funnels upward, condensing at the peak. It is an inverted funnel. Gravity operates against the multitude and in service of the few. If this angers you, you are squandering fuel. Gravity is indifferent to your rage. You cannot guilt the river into flowing uphill. You possess only two options: remain the water and pray for a rainy season, or become the dam. Machiavelli wrote extensively on two opposing forces: virtu, skill/strength, and fortuna, luck/circumstance. Modern society has brainwashed you into believing that virtu is the totality. We instruct children to secure high marks, master a trade, become undeniable. We peddle the fantasy that if you are sufficiently skilled, the world will bend the knee. This is the skill trap. You witness it everywhere. The virtuoso painter who is destitute, the architectural genius who is underpaid, the indefatigable nurse who cannot cover the rent. They possess immense virtu. They have skill. They have grit. But Machiavelli whispered the dark truth 5 centuries ago. Virtu without occasion, the occasion/position, is wasted. Talent is meaningless in a vacuum. A grandmaster swordsman is obsolete if he stands in a chamber where the battle is decided by gunpowder. A brilliant orator is mute if he stands in a hall with no ears. The wealthy do not obsess over skill. They obsess over the occasion. They obsess over planting themselves on terrain where their microscopic actions yield macroscopic consequences. They understand that position multiplies skill. Let us calculate the mathematics of your existence. Outcome equals skill plus effort multiplied by position. If your position is 0 or near 0, it is irrelevant if your skill and effort are 100. 100 plus 100 times 0 equals 0. This is the tragedy of the proletariat. They are maximizing the variables inside the brackets. They are refining their skill. They are doubling their effort. They are incinerating themselves, but they are multiplying it by a structural 0. They are digging a trench in the center of the Sahara, hoping to strike water simply because they are excellent diggers. The wealthy man locates the spring first. He may be an incompetent digger. He may wield a rusted spade. He may dig for only 10 minutes. But because his position is correct, because he is standing upon the aquifer, he wins. 10 plus 10 times 1,000 equals 20,000. This drives the moralist to madness. It's not fair, they scream. He is lazy. He is dull. He does not deserve it. But the market is not a moral magistrate. The market is a mechanism. It does not ask who sweated more. It asks, where is the value being captured? And here is the jagged pill you must swallow. The system punishes you for your reliance on skill. Why? Because skill is arduous to scale. It is tethered to your time. It is tethered to your biological vessel. If you are the finest surgeon on earth, you can still only rescue one patient at a time. Your position is capped by biology. The owner of the hospital, however, does not need to cut. He needs to position the hospital in an affluent district, negotiate contracts with insurers, and employ you. His position is scalable. Yours is not. As long as you pride yourself solely on your hard work, you are locking yourself inside a cage. You are wearing your exhaustion like a medal of valor. I worked 80 hours this week. To the Machiavellian, that is not a boast. That is a confession of strategic failure. It means you were forced to expend 80 units of energy to achieve a result that someone in a superior position achieved with a text message. It means you are inefficient. It means you are fighting gravity. Cease taking pride in your suffering. Suffering is not a currency. The bank does not accept your perspiration. Let us descend deeper into the psychology that anchors you downstream. Why do the masses refuse to relocate? Why do they cling to low-leverage positions even when the mathematics are laid bare? Because the bottom is crowded and crowds feel secure. There is a psychological anesthesia in being part of the struggle. When you are a worker, you possess camaraderie. You share a common adversary, the boss, the system, the administration. You have a script, you know your lines. Show up, labor, return home, lament. Moving upstream requires you to step into the void. To alter your position, you must defect from the herd. You must abandon the comforting narrative of fairness. You must accept that the world is cold, architectural, and indifferent. Most humans would rather be poor and morally superior than wealthy and structurally responsible. They adore the myth of the underdog. We adore films where the scrappy, impoverished youth defeats the wealthy empire through heart and grit. We adore it because it validates our delusion. It tells us that our position doesn't matter. Only our spirit does. But in the tangible world, the underdog usually perishes. In the tangible world, Goliath obliterates David 99 times out of 100 because Goliath possesses reach, armor, and mass. The rich do not play the underdog. They play the house. They understand that wealth is not a duel. It is a siege. You do not run out and skirmish. You construct walls. You dominate the supply lines. You wait. This demands a fundamental metamorphosis in how you view yourself. You must cease viewing yourself as a laborer and start viewing yourself as an asset allocator. Even if you possess no currency, you possess time, you possess attention, you possess vitality. These are your assets. The masses allocate these assets into labor. They sell them wholesale. The outlier allocates them into leverage. They spend their time constructing things that work on their behalf. They spend their energy securing relationships, which are merely access keys to other people's positions. They spend their attention locating the fractures in the system where value is leaking so they can place a bucket beneath the drip. This is the concept of strategic laziness. Bill Gates did not scribe every line of code for Windows. He positioned himself between IBM and the operating system. He captured the license. He owned the toll booth. Rockefeller did not drill every well. He acquired the refineries. He realized that the drillers were the risk takers, the gamblers. They could strike a dry hole and collapse. But if they struck oil, they were forced to refine it. He positioned himself at the bottleneck. He controlled the valve. This is the secret. Find the bottleneck. In every industry, in every market, in every career trajectory, there is a bottleneck. There is a specific coordinate where the flow of value is constricted. In the gold rush, the bottleneck was not the gold. It was the pickaxes. In the internet age, the bottleneck was not the content. It was the search engine, Google. In the influencer economy, the bottleneck is not the talent. It is the algorithm. Attention. If you are the content creator, you are the water. If you are the platform, you are the dam. Interrogate yourself right now. Where do we stand in relation to the bottleneck of my industry? Am I the one attempting to squeeze through the aperture? Or am I the one standing at the gate collecting the toll? If you are trying to squeeze through, you will always be fatigued. You will always be competing because everyone is trying to squeeze through. The law of position states, competition is for those who cannot build a monopoly, and monopolies are born from position. So why haven't you moved? It is not merely ignorance. It is because the system has laid 3 invisible tripwires to keep you stationary. These are the psychological snares that ensure the rich ascend and the poor remain busy. 1. The sunk cost of identity. You have spent years constructing an identity around your suffering. You label yourself a grinder. You pride yourself on your endurance. To shift positions, you must assassinate that version of yourself. You must admit that your hard work was, in many ways, an error, a misallocation of energy. The ego detests this. The ego would rather be correct and destitute than mistaken and wealthy. You cling to your degree because you spent 4 years acquiring it. Even if the degree is a map to a dead end. You cling to your industry because it's what I know, even if the industry is rotting. The rich have no loyalty to their past. They have loyalty only to the future. If a position is no longer advantageous, they evacuate. They are fluid. They are mercenaries of value. 2. The salary addiction. A salary is the most effective narcotic ever synthesized. It is a bribe. The system pays you precisely enough to euthanize your ambition, but not enough to purchase your liberty. It provides a steady, predictable drip of dopamine. 2 weeks paycheck. 2 weeks paycheck. This rhythm hypnotizes you. It makes you terrified of the irregularity of ownership. Wealth is lumpy. It does not arrive in smooth, bi-weekly increments. It arrives in droughts, and then it arrives in tsunamis. To change positions, you must be willing to endure the drought to construct the dam for the flood. But the salary addict cannot withstand the withdrawal. They require the fix. So they remain in the position of the employee, trading their infinite potential for a finite drip. 3. The illusion of risk. You are indoctrinated to believe that moving upstream is perilous. Starting an enterprise is risky. Investing is risky. Negotiating for equity is risky. So you remain in the safe position. But examine the reality. Who is more at risk? The man who owns the stream or the man who drinks from it? If the stream dries up, the owner moves to a new stream. He possesses the map. He understands the terrain. The drinker dies of thirst. Employment is the riskiest position of all because you possess a single point of failure. One boss, one firm, one industry. If that connection is severed, you have zero leverage. The rich get richer because they are diversified. They occupy multiple positions. They have multiple dams on multiple rivers. They have redefined safety not as stability, but as control. You believe safety is a steady paycheck. They know safety is owning the checkbook. So how do we commence the migration? How do we traverse from the downstream struggle to the upstream capture? We must cease thinking in terms of career ladders. Ladders are for climbing. We are not climbing. We are traversing. We are moving laterally from high effort / low leverage zones to low effort / high leverage zones. This requires a map of the hierarchy of leverage. Most believe the hierarchy is intern, junior, senior manager, VP, CEO. That is the hierarchy of the farm. It is merely different tiers of livestock. The VP is just a cow with a shinier bell than the intern. He is still on the farm. He is still being milked for his time. The real hierarchy, the hierarchy of wealth, is invisible to the corporate ladder. Level 1, the laborer, the time seller. You sell time, you have zero leverage. You are paid only when you bleed. Level 2, the merchant, the transaction maker. You sell products or outcomes. You have slight leverage. You can sell while you sleep, but you must still source, ship, and service. Level 3, the architect, the system owner. You own the code, the media, the patent, or the process. The product replicates itself. Your leverage is detached from your marginal cost. Level 4, the capitalist, the resource allocator. You move capital to where it breeds. You do not touch the product. You do not touch the customer. You touch the structure. The objective of your life must be to migrate up this hierarchy. And here is the brutal truth. You cannot work your way from level 1 to level 4. You cannot labor so intensely that you spontaneously become a capitalist. You have to jump. You have to change the nature of your income, not the amount. A surgeon earning $500,000 a year at level 1, it is still poorer than a software owner earning $100,000 a year at level 3. Why? Because the surgeon is trapped. His income is a golden handcuff. He must keep cutting to keep eating. The software owner is free. His income is a seed. He has time to think, to plan, to ascend to level 4. The rich get richer because they play the game of time. They buy back their time immediately. They use their first wealth to purchase their freedom, and then they use their freedom to purchase more wealth. You use your wealth to purchase comfort. You buy a superior vehicle to drive to the job that enslaves you. You buy a larger house to sleep in between shifts at the factory of your soul. You are using your money to make your cage more comfortable. They are using their money to buy the key. This is the fundamental difference in position, the consumer versus the owner. How do you move from the base of the pyramid to the apex? How do you shift from the one pushing the boulder to the one owning the mountain? You do not ask for permission. You do not wait for a promotion. Promotions are the crumbs the system feeds you to prevent you from baking your own bread. You must utilize the vacuum strategy. Machiavelli understood that power is not given. It is filled. Power flows like water into empty spaces. If you want to capture value, you must locate a void in the system. A problem that is burning, a need that is screaming, a question that has no answer. And you must position yourself as the sole entity that fills that void. Most people attempt to compete in crowded spaces. They see everyone starting a podcast, so they start a podcast. They see everyone learning coding, so they learn coding. They are mimicking. They are adding noise to noise. The rich do the opposite. They search for the silence. They ask, what is the one thing that the powerful people in this industry are terrified of? What is the bottleneck that is costing them millions? When you identify that void, you do not politely offer assistance. You position yourself in the center of it. If a corporation is bleeding because they cannot retain clients, you do not apply for a job in customer success. You build a system that automates retention, and you sell the result, not your time. You become the cork in the hull of the sinking ship. When you are the cork, you dictate the price. The captain does not negotiate with the cork. He pays whatever it costs to halt the drowning. This is the essence of position. It is leverage through necessity. If you are nice to have, you are poor. If you are necessary for survival, you are rich. Look at your current role. If you vanish tomorrow, would the organization collapse? Or would they simply be annoyed for 2 weeks while they inducted a replacement? If you are replaceable, your position is weak. And because your position is weak, your income will always be capped by the market rate of your replacement. To obtain wealth, you must become a structural necessity. You must wrap your hands around the cables that keep the lights on. You must own the relationship, the data, the process, or the access that no one else holds. Create a vacuum that only you can fill, and then wait. Let the panic of the market drive the value to you. If you cannot own the asset, if you cannot construct the dam yet, then you must execute the gatekeeper protocol. This is the fastest route for the have-nots to become the haves. In every system, there are two types of power players, the owners and the gatekeepers. The owner holds the gold. The gatekeeper holds the key to the vault. You may not have the capital to be the owner yet, but you can position yourself as the gatekeeper. You can become the bridge between the problem and the solution. Real estate agents are gatekeepers. Investment bankers are gatekeepers. Talent agents are gatekeepers. They produce nothing. They create nothing. They simply stand between the buyer and the seller and demand a toll for passage. This offends the purist. The purist claims they are parasites. They add no value. The Machiavellian laughs. He knows that access is value. In a world of noise, the entity who curates access is king. If you know the three people a billionaire needs to meet, you are effectively a billionaire by proximity. If you control the newsletter that 10,000 buyers read, you control the sales of every product in that niche. You do not need to build the product. You just need to own the audience. Stop trying to be the genius inventor. Be the person who introduces the inventor to the investor. Be the person who connects the audience to the offer. Position yourself at the intersection. Picture a chaotic intersection in a metropolis. You don't need to build the cars. You don't need to pave the roads. You just need to be the man who erects the billboard. The traffic is already there. The energy is already flowing. You are simply capturing a slice of it by standing in the correct location. This requires you to shift your focus from how do I work harder to who do I know and where is the attention flowing. Attention is the crude oil of the 21st century. Whoever controls the flow of attention controls the flow of currency. If you are writing code in a basement, you are a labor. If you are deciding which code gets featured on the App Store, you are a gatekeeper. Always seek the gate. The final barrier you must breach is your understanding of risk. The poor are terrified of losing what little they possess. The rich are terrified of missing out on what they could possess. This difference in psychology creates a difference in position. The poor cling to the shoreline. They view the ocean as a threat. What if a storm arrives? What if I drown? So they remain on the sand, fighting for scraps. The rich construct the ship. They view the ocean as a highway. To change your position, you must invert your relationship with risk. You must realize that staying stationary is the most dangerous move on the board. In a rapidly mutating economy, the safe job is a ticking time bomb. Automation, AI, and globalization are eroding the foundation of the pyramid. The water is rising. If you stay downstream, you will drown. The only safety is in elevation. You must be willing to risk your current comfort to purchase your future leverage. This might mean resigning from the job that pays you well, but teaches you nothing. It might mean investing your savings into a venture instead of a vehicle. It might mean looking like a fool for 2 years while you build something that pays you nothing yet. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be impetuous than cautious, for fortune is a woman, and if you wish to keep her under, it is necessary to beat and ill-use her." He meant that the world yields to aggression. It yields to those who move with conviction. The universe despises hesitation. It punishes the timid. If you are waiting for a guarantee, you will wait until you are dead. There are no guarantees in the law of position. There are only probabilities. And the probability of getting rich while trading time for money is zero. The probability of getting rich by owning equity, by controlling leverage, by positioning yourself upstream, it is not 100%, but it is the only game where the math functions. You have to place a bet. You have to bet on yourself, not on your ability to work hard. Everyone can do that. You have to bet on your ability to see the map, to spot the high ground, and to take it before someone else does. When you finally shift your position, something strange occurs. You stop being tired. The chronic exhaustion that has plagued you for years, the sensation of pushing a car uphill, vanishes. Suddenly you are driving the car. You are still working, perhaps even working long hours, but the friction is gone because now your effort is compounding. Every hour you work builds a system that will work for you tomorrow. You are no longer renting your life. You are building equity in it. The bitterness dissolves. You stop looking at the rich with envy and start looking at them with an understanding. You see the game for what it is. It is not personal. It is just mechanics. You realize that you were never not good enough. You were just standing in the wrong place. It is like finding the light switch in a lightless room. You spent years stumbling, bruising your shins, cursing the darkness. You thought you were clumsy. You thought you were blind, but you were just in the dark. Position is the light switch. Flip it. Move from labor to leverage. Move from downstream to upstream. Move from competing to dominating. Machiavelli's final lesson to the prince was this: do not be hated. But in the modern world, the lesson is, do not be ignored. Poverty is the state of being ignored by the market. Wealth is the state of being essential to it. Your task, starting today, is to audit your life with cold, surgical detachment. Look at your income source. Is it leverable? Look at your daily tasks. Are you building a dam or carrying water? Look at your industry. Where is the bottleneck? If you cannot answer these questions, you are the prey. The predator knows exactly where he stands. The predator knows the terrain better than the prey. You must become the predator of your own destiny. You must hunt for the high ground because the water is rising, and only those with position will float. But once you have the position, once you have the money, a new danger emerges. A danger far more subtle and far more destructive than poverty. Most people think getting rich ends the war. They are wrong. Wealth just changes the battlefield. Once you have the crown, everyone wants to take it. The wolves do not stop coming. They just change their clothes. They come as friends. They come as lovers. They come as partners. How do you protect the fortress once you have built it? How do you spot the traitor who is already inside the walls? That is the art of Machiavellian defense, and it is a game of shadows that few survive. We will discuss that next time. If this opened your eyes, understand this is only what I can show publicly. There are videos I cannot upload for the masses. There are aspects of dark psychology that I simply cannot discuss publicly on this platform without being censored or demonetized. The algorithm suppresses the most powerful information. Those secrets exist behind the join button. If you're still here, you're not like the others. Subscribe to the Quiet Folds if you haven't. But if you want what's hidden, click the join button and step into the architect level. You will unlock exclusive, uncensored videos that dive into the deepest parts of the human psyche. Most won't. That's the point.